What's up, guys? What's going on? I'm Paul. This is Pauline Theology's Daily Devotional. We're going through the book of Exodus. We're in Exodus chapter 4, verse 18. Exodus chapter 4, verse 18. If you haven't read it yet, stop the tape, see what it has to say, come back, and we're going to answer some questions. It's the last day of the week, so let's finish it strong. Let's go through the scriptures, but then let's live out the scriptures. Let's do what the Word of God is calling us to do for this weekend. Matter of fact, if you're watching it this morning, let's go and start off right now. Let's go and live it out during the day. Isn't that what we've been called to do, right? So let's get it. If you haven't read it yet, again, stop the tape, check it out, see what it has to say. We're in Exodus chapter 4, verse 18. If you've read it, we're going to dive into it. So what's happening? That's the first question we ask. What's going on in the scriptures? Well, now we are finished with all of the things. Well, I mean finished, but the sequence that has happened between God and Moses up at the mountain. The fire, the flame, the bush, Moses being called out, Moses being told to return. We're done with all that. And now Moses has to go and talk to his father-in-law. Hey, this is a tough task, right? You know, we got all those stories about father-in-laws, mother-in-laws, in-laws, families, and stuff like that. So Moses has to go and make known this because Moses has been working for this brother for a while. I think that we may have talked a little bit about what Moses is doing and kind of like his role is that he has accepted his plight in life in one sense because he has gone under the rule of his father-in-law. He was once an Egyptian, basked probably in the riches of the entire country, and now he doesn't even own his own sheep. You know, so he's super poor, and so for him to go and talk to his father-in-law, who has supported him lovingly, you know, we're going to see their relationship grow further later on as we continue to read the book. But you know, a father-in-law who has worked with him and done things to sustain him and his daughter, to give Moses a life that he could be proud of. This is what he is doing. And then Moses goes and says, I'm leaving, bro, and I'm taking my family with me. And in this time as well, it's like family and lineage and sons, because he has a son, firstborn, and those things are very important. This is a very close-knit type of situation in this culture. And so for him to say, I'm leaving, man, I'm going, this is a very tough thing for Moses to do. And then on the back end, this is a tough thing for Jethro, his father-in-law, to allow to happen, right? Because not to say that they labor, but kids are helping. They do a lot. And for those children or him and the child to be taken away, it may put a little damper on Jethro and his livelihood. So this is a big deal for both of these parties. For Moses to have the courage and the boldness to go ask, but then Jethro to allow him to go, saying go in peace, which is basically saying, man, hey, you got my blessing, homie. You got my blessing. So what does this say about God? I think underneath, and as well as with the other thing that God had spoken to earlier about Aaron meeting up with him, is that God is working in the background. God is moving in the background. He is aligning pieces in order for us to achieve what he's called us to. So I say this because I'm sure that God has been working on Jethro's heart, that this is not something that is just popping up out of nowhere for him, but he has been moving in Jethro so that when the time came for him to actually have to leave, he's going to let him leave, you know? So I think this is what is said about God in this picture, is that God is moving in the background. He is planning every stage, making sure that all paths are open so that we, or Moses in this case, can do what it is that he needs to do. What's this say about man? You got to have boldness to do the things that God calls you to do. Like I said, this was probably a difficult task for Moses to achieve, but you got to be bold. God called you to things, and he equips you, and he's with you in doing them, but that don't mean it's easy. And finally, sometimes you got to just let go. Sometimes you just gotta let go and let God. Isn't that what people say? Let go and let God. And sometimes you do, man. You gotta release. You gotta have them go. And I think that's what Jethro was doing here. I've got some buddies and some friends right now that are in this season of their life where they have to just let go. They have to release. First off, release and let go people who God has called to do something as Moses. But then also they have to release things they think are to benefit the sovereign king of the universe, things that are to promote the great name of the Lord. But in reality, it's not what God is calling them to do right now. And so sometimes, like Jethro releasing Moses to do what God has called him to do, we got to release those other things in our life so that we can do what God has called us to do. So how do we apply these truths to our lives? I think it's recognizing these things and finding comfort and peace in them. Go in peace. Find comfort and peace in them. Because as this season of Moses' life has come to a close, it was highly important for him. Jethro aided Moses in understanding the plight of ruling, in a sense of him shepherding this sheep. Because this is a very important task that Moses learns as he has to shepherd the sheep of Israel. Every step of the way, God is moving and working in the life of Moses to give him the skills, the knowledge, and the power to be able to do what he's called him to do. And this is no different. And Jethro has been a vital part in that. But now it's time for him to let him go. So what is it in your life that you got to let go? God has moved you through this season so that you can be growing in him through the things that have been occurring. Just like James says, he says, man, count it as joy that these various trials happen, man, because they will give you wisdom. So what is it right now that God is saying put down? What is God saying set aside? Who is God telling you to release? Who is God telling you to let go in this moment so that they can do the thing that he has called them to, but also that you can do the thing that you've been called to? I appreciate you guys for listening, and I will see you in the next episode.